Get ready to experience the pulse of the outdoor community as we dive into the stories of people's journeys into the outdoor world. If you're enjoying this podcast so far, please go give my social medias a like, share, and a follow so that you can keep up to date with the most recent episodes and other things going on with this podcast. Thank you very much, and let's get into this episode. Cool. Hello, and welcome to the Outdoor Pulse. I'm your host, Mitch Dean. Today we have on David Roth. He went to Ohio State University and is into skiing, mountain biking, and a bunch of other outdoor activities. So how's it going, David?
Pretty good, Mitch. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah,
looking forward to talking about some of the stuff I do outside in the woods and in the backcountry.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's start off with just kind of how you got into your first kind of dipping your toe into the outdoor community and what kind of got you interested in it in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. So, like in high school and a little earlier, I was always kind of into fishing. I didn't really do too much camping or anything else back then, though. But I really was interested in getting into it. So going into college, I went online on the Ohio State website, looking at all the clubs we had and the different activities that were offered, just to kind of see what outdoor clubs we had that kind of fit what I wanted to do. So I found like mountaineering club, I found ski team, sailing team, all that kind of stuff. And I was, really excited to get into it. So I kind of wrote all those down on my list to go visit the table at the activity fair and get into it. And then I did kind of my first real camping trip for I think the entire week leading right up to the day before I moved into my college dorm freshman year. So that was kind of a hectic trip, but I went with my buddies. It was a great time. Kind of got my foot dipped in the pond of like backpacking and just camping in general. I hadn't really done that much before. And after that, I really was hooked. So I joined mountaineering straight off the bat freshman year. Went on my first trip, I think like a month later, to Red River Gorge in Kentucky to do some climbing with some of the older members in the club. And, I just really liked the vibe and the experience, and the people were great. And I just kind of knew that's what I wanted to continue doing and start building some skills, and obviously a gear cache after that. So start dropping some money on things. And from there, I just started adding on other sports. I skied a bit as a kid, but once I hit college, I started going on a lot more trips for that. So I got really into skiing. After that, I got into mountain biking, did some backpacking, and then, let's see, I think the start of my junior year, for the climbing wall on campus, I decided to pick up a job there because I had accumulated friends who worked there over my tenure going to climb at the gym. And so I picked that up, started working there, climbing a lot more, and then eventually became a trip leader as kind of a good way to one, just build those outdoor technical skills, but also it's a great way to get out, get on some free trips to really cool places like sea kayaking in the Everglades for 10 days and a lot of other places. And, I've been going strong ever since then.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, the Mountaineers at Ohio State they're such a great resource for getting into all of those things. And that first trip, that was the big free climb, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they have that every year. That's awesome. A great way to get some of the new members kind of a little bit the Gumbies out there and teaching them how to clean the anchors, get them up on a rope for the first time outside. Yeah, it was a great experience. I think I went on the big free climb my second year that I was into climbing, but It wasn't my first year. So I was more helping people get on ropes after. My first time outside was I went out down the Red River Gorge with a couple friends that knew what they were doing, and they kind of showed me the ropes a little bit for the outdoor climbing after I had kind of gotten into it up at Ohio State. So yeah, Ohio State has that free wall that is, well, not free. It's comes with your tuition. So
Yeah,
But
nothing here is free. But yeah, yeah, yours was a little bit different then, because yeah, I was basically just got into climbing, so I didn't know anything yet. I was a total novice, and like I was so out of my depth going out there that I didn't have climbing shoes with me, so I literally brought, at the time I had a set of Sperry water shoes that I had been wearing for a long time, so they were already like super worn down on the rubber and everything. But I was like, those are my tightest fitting shoes. And then it's so janky. I took duct tape and I actually wrapped it around the shoes to squeeze down on my foot and make them tighter. And then I climbed a crack up the wall that one of the other guys had set up. And it was just like, oh, like looking back at that now, I would laugh so hard if I saw someone doing that out there. It was just
hey,
borderline embarrassing, but I didn't know better back then. So
hey, we're from the Midwest. We don't have exactly easy access,
yeah,
so we just kind of throw ourselves at it and learn as we go.
yeah.
It's definitely a different experience, which I've had a couple people on now from the Midwest, and just getting into the outdoors in the outdoor environment like this from the Midwest is just a whole different thing than someone that grew up in like Colorado or in the mountains and had like super easy access to the outdoors.
Oh, I know. I sometimes I almost feel like it makes it, in a way, it makes us hungrier for it, even because we have to actively go out to and like seek it out to go get those experiences. You know, maybe we're not always as technical as some of the guys out there, especially with like things like skiing. But other than that, you know, I don't know, I've met a wide variety of people from around the country, and like I don't know, the Midwesterners, like when we get a taste of it and we get into those outdoor sports, it's hard to stop us from just, you know,
Yeah.
getting out there and trying to go on as many trips as we possibly can.
Exactly. Yeah, the first time I went climbing outside, I remember I thought I was hooked before, and then I was like, okay, if I wasn't hooked before, I'm definitely hooked now. That first
Oh
trip
yeah.
outside's just kind of like I can't see myself not doing this. I need to find when can I get down here next? When am I going again? When's the next trip? It was instant love once I got outside. It's a whole different experience than climbing inside.
Oh yeah. Definitely, like I would say when when I really got uh hooked on doing bigger trips to get out there, I think was um, I think it was freshman or sophomore year. I went on our Mountaineers the Moab spring break trip, and I didn't even go with the actual Mountaineers bands. One of the old he used to work at the Outdoor Adventure Center where I worked, but years earlier, he was a really old member, but friends with some of the senior Mountaineers. He had posted, you know, I'm planning on going out to Moab, taking a separate vehicle. We're going to go skiing for the last couple of days. And so I just decided, like, that sounds pretty fun. Get to do some skiing in Colorado. So that was my first time doing any sort of big mountain skiing. Um, and I was kind of like, "Ooh, I'm hooked." Didn't know any of the guys in the car whatsoever, but I just kind of, I guess that happened with me with Big Free Climb too, actually. But so yeah, I hopped in the van. That thing was like pretty much broken down. We drove it all the way cross country out there, all the way back, and yeah, it was just like a great experience. Did a lot of pretty cool outdoor climbing out there on sandstone. Never done that before. Um, I think I cleaned my first trad routes. Uh, I had bought a rope for it, used that for the first time. So it was really my first time like really getting out and using a lot of my own gear. And then of course, like I said, we went skiing for the last couple of days, and I was like, wow, we do not have mountains like this in the
No.
Midwest. This is just so much better. And then I got horrible sunburn and everything on that trip. It was honestly, it was excruciating, but I was just so hooked on it. I was ready to get right back out there.
Yeah. No, the first time skiing is I my dad took me out for my first time out west to Steamboat. Steamboat was my first
Haven't been there
trip
yet,
out here,
actually.
and beautiful place. Their back bowl's pretty cool. But after I went out there, I was like, okay, how do I get out there through Ohio State? And I ended up going out with the ski club for the next 3 years, I think. So
Okay.
I went out with all their trips out to Aspen and all of that, and it was like you said, you're instantly hooked, and you just figure out a way to make it work and get out there. So
That was actually a big regret of mine, was never going on one of those ski team trips.
I decided I always had to decide between the Moab trip or that, and I was like,
Yeah,
well, I'm climbing down Red River Gorge all the time, doing all these other things. Skiing, I only get one trip out west, and it was either the Moab trip or the ski trip, and I always chose the ski trip instead.
yeah,
So, but I always wanted to go on the Moab trip, but I'm planning on getting out there kind of soon just to go because I'm so close to it now. Well,
yeah.
not so close, but
A lot
it's
closer than the 25 hours from here for
yeah,
sure. So
exactly.
yeah, I think the decider for me was that I didn't have any of my own ski gear yet, actually. I didn't even have goggles. I had like all my old winter stuff, so it really wasn't that great. So I decided, okay, I either have to drop a bunch more money on gear that I don't have because I'm, a poor college kid, or I'd already accumulated enough to go climbing. So I just decided let's go do that. But
Exactly. Yeah. No,
yeah.
gear is one of those things you slowly gain more and more of as you get further into everything. And next thing you know, you have half my room's all gear here. So
Yeah, that's actually always been a dream of mine eventually is when I settle down, I pick that house to raise my family, and I want to hopefully have a room in there. It doesn't have to be huge, but I definitely want a room I can just totally turn into just a personal gear room. I've got all my skis on the wall, my bikes, racks full of climbing gear, trad rack, all my scuba stuff, literally just I go in there and I could, even pull stuff out for friends, but I just want that one room I can walk in and look around and be like, just have everything I need.
okay, so we're gonna take a quick step back into your time at Ohio State and
Okay.
all those kind of things that you kind of got into with because you said that you were a trip leader for a while and
Yeah.
obviously you were working at the climbing wall and what kind of skills and things did you kind of get into through that because that sounds like it led you to a couple different things besides like the normal skiing and climbing so
Yeah, for sure. So you get a lot of leadership skills. That's first and foremost the biggest thing. You're leading a lot of times people who have either never been in the backcountry or have never really gone outdoor climbing, or people who have maybe done it a couple of times but really want to learn how to be self-sufficient. So you take them out there, you lead them through this trip for a weekend or up to 10 days, depending on what trip it is. And every single day, you're teaching different skills, and over the course of whatever trip it is, you kind of you help them build those skills, you let them try it, and so by the end of a weekend of backpacking, they're cooking their own meals, they're setting up and taking down their own stove, no one's burning themselves, they just know how to work everything. And so it's really fun teaching those lessons. I definitely learned how to use a variety of different camp stoves a lot better, do maintenance on them, just kind of also the proper ways of going out in the backcountry and using leave no trace principles. So not digging your holes in the ground and burying things, or depending on I guess where you are, but or like spreading out any of the spare food or eating as much as possible so you're not leaving any sort of trace behind, or like attracting bears at night, for instance. A lot of skills like that. Uh, so I really just got to learn, also even just gear maintenance. I didn't have any of that skill before I started becoming a trip leader, but I would go in the gear room and check stuff before we gave it out to the participants. So if there's holes in the tents or sleeping bags, we'd patch them up. When we got back, we would do the same. Um, it was just it really helped me become a totally self-sufficient um, backcountry outdoorsman, and
yeah.
I still use those skills every time I go out.
Yeah, I know the Mountaineers trips always were a little bit more thrown together than the
Yeah.
actual ones that were the official ones hosted by the university through the what was the name of the center again? It's
Oh, the Outdoor Adventure Center.
the OAC. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So and it sounds like if someone's looking to kind of get into and start into like the outdoor industry, even, it would be a good idea for them to, if they're in college, look for their outdoor probably program and try and get in there then.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I guess you've got multiple, a lot of schools will have those outdoor clubs, and those are great to join. You're just making friends who like the same things you do or are trying to get into the same things. And yeah, learning skills, especially if you want to really really learn how to, like I said, how I became self-sufficient. We make you self-sufficient too. So yeah, going to your local outdoor adventure center or whatever it's called at your college and just seeing what kind of trips they lead and signing up for one. Great way to start, just kind of start on your outdoor journey. I had people who had just never camped before, even in their backyard, and they'd come out for a weekend and, they'd leave. It wasn't for everyone, but a lot of people would leave just kind of wanting to go on the next trip. I think we had one guy who went on like 18 of our backpacking trips, which is just absurd. We were even like, why are you not leading them on by yourself now? Like you've got all the skills, you've got some of your own stuff, like just get out there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I know when I first got to Ohio State, it was the spring of my freshman year. I ended up going on the Grayson Highlands trip, and
Awesome place.
we ended up getting a freak spring snowstorm that dumped like a foot of snow on us. So,
Oh, really?
well, we knew it was coming. Like it was in the weather forecast, but it went
Mhm.
from like super nice weather to just covered in snow overnight. So I thought it was awesome. A few of the people were obviously miserable, but I was out there like the environment went from no snow on the ground and just kind of being, and then to just a total change of landscape was super
Yeah.
cool to kind of see.
That was actually one of the backpacking trips I led, and honestly, one of my favorite ones too. Grayson's really cool between the horses, or like, yeah, even when it's nice weather, the terrain changes multiple times throughout the course of the weekend, and yeah, that's a really cool place. I ever since I've been wanting to go back, but I haven't been able to get out there yet.
Yeah.
So no, that's really cool that you did that.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place. It's somewhere that I feel like a lot of people don't know about, because when I
Oh
mention it, they're
yeah,
like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's this place in between like North Carolina, West Virginia, and Virginia.
I
Isn't that
think
the
so.
three
Yeah,
states?
yeah,
Yeah."
yeah.
But yeah, no, beautiful, beautiful area. So through the OAC, did you end up getting any like of the? Because I know some of the, I knew some people had like their NOLS classes and stuff like that
Hmm.
too, and the outdoor first responder courses and things like
Yeah.
that. Did you end up getting any of those while there, or did
I
you?
actually did not. I really wanted to do the woofer, the wilderness first
Yeah,
responder. But it was always either during spring break, so usually I was on one
yeah,
trip or another, or it was during I think winter break. Um, and like no, it was summer maybe. I don't know. Either way, I was generally on a trip or just not available, so I was never able to do it. Um, I had some medical knowledge in general, and especially for some medical skills when you're out in the backcountry. So I used those, but um, no, that's another great way. Like especially if you're trying to go out and really become self-sufficient, be comfortable. That's a great course to take. In case somebody gets hurt, even yourself, just kind of knowing how to troubleshoot and keep everybody safe, get them back out in one piece, or I guess in as as
yeah.
close to one piece as possible. But yeah, I never. Long story short, I never got to do any of those.
So, of your time at Ohio State, what was your favorite trip that you ended up going on while there? Then,
Through the OAC
just in general. I
in
mean, through
general.
the Mountaineers, OAC, personal trip, whatever it was.
That's so tough. There's so many that were so good for a lot of different reasons. Some of them were fun just honestly because of how miserable a couple nights were, and it was like, wow, this was some type two fun. I guess for those of you that don't know what type two fun is, it's like uh, I so type one is like going on a roller coaster. Type two is Man, last night got down to 10 degrees in my tent and I froze my butt off, but it was a good experience. I just don't really want to do it again.
But then you end up going and
Yeah.
doing it again at another point,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah, and you're
still
like,
go
I've been
back
here
for it.
before. I knew how bad it was, but whatever. But yeah, anyways, to answer your question, honestly, one of the most unique trips I was on, at least, was that Everglades trip that I briefly mentioned earlier. So that was my first really big trip as a leader through the Outdoor Adventure Center. And it's a 10-day trip down to this area called 10,000 Islands in Florida. You launch your kayaks out of Everglades City, and it's not like in the swamps or anything down there of the Everglades. It's just outside on the coast, so it's in the Gulf of Mexico in the saltwater, and you're basically just paddling and like island hopping from one mangrove island to another for 10 days. We camped on the beaches. You saw sharks, turtles, manatees, fish, dolphins, the occasional alligator when you were a little bit closer to inland. But yeah, there was just such a cool, unique experience because I had never really camped on an island before. Sea kayaking in the ocean was also something I'd never done. Um, there's one location there that's super special. And it's a larger island out there called Panther with a channel that goes through it. And if you get up at like 3 or 4 a.m. And paddle it, there's bioluminescence in the water. So every paddle stroke, it
Oh
just
yeah,
like lights up this beautiful green color.
oh, it's a
So you've
green
got like
one.
that, yeah, you've got
Yeah,
that going on, and you see the moonlight flashing off all the raccoons at the shore watching you, and it was just like really cool experience.
yeah.
Um,
The bioluminescent algae. I went into a lagoon down in Jamaica. It had blue. It was a blue one, and you
mhm.
jumped in. You could see the outline of like your hand lighten up
That's
in
super
the
cool.
water, and it was yeah. So anytime that you can get that like algae that lights up, so it was green down there in the Everglades in that area.
Yeah,
It's a green one.
yeah, like really bright, like a lime green kind of, or like the Hulk. Yeah, it was just absolutely awesome. I had a run-in with a shark our first night paddling in. It hit my kayak, and I like launched out of the water a little bit. It was just like overall, just such a cool experience.
Gotcha. And then
Yeah,
I know at least at Ohio State, it's a great way to kind of get into it and all those different things. All those trips were very affordable.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Pretty affordable, and the great part about it too is it includes all of the gear you need. Obviously, the instructors and all of our just large pot full of knowledge. And then uh, like food too. We go pick out all the food, and generally we've got like a pretty good menu going. You're not eating granola bars the whole time you're out there. We're always cooking meals and keeping it interesting.
Gotcha. So we'll move on from like the college time and all
Mhm.
that, and like kind of how you've grown into your current outdoor activities and sports, and which ones you've kind of focused in on now that you've kind of graduated and working and everything, and how you work around that. So
For sure. So I guess I should start at the end of college. I started getting really into mountain biking. That was a very personal sport for me. Uh, I didn't do it too many, or I didn't really get into it like through Mountaineers or anything. I just went out with a couple friends one day who were bikers, and I just instantly fell in love. I I mountain biked literally one time, and then I knew was gonna love it so much and want to do it so often that I literally just started already looking for what bike to buy, and I bought it after my first outing. And I was going all the time. So just through the end of college, I was going out probably a couple days a week, hitting the trails. And I've done it since then as well in Detroit. It's still one of my favorite sports. I've done some downhill now out in Colorado at the resorts, and after I finished college, right after I left for a 5-week trip around Western Europe and Central Europe, and I got to do some biking in Switzerland, and just overall it's just such a great feeling. Climbing's got that like very zen, Um, you're kind of in your own bubble on the wall kind of feeling, and nothing where nothing else really matters at the time.
Yeah.
But um, for biking, it's just faster paced. You're hearing the trees and the birds as you're flying through the woods, and it's a very free feeling. At the same time, it's all foot power, so it's all you doing it too, which is just I just love sports like that.
So it's a little bit more like, which I would say the feeling's a little bit more like the skiing where you're out there
100%,
and
yeah.
yeah, so it's a little more of the ski feel versus the climbing feel, which is like you said, if anyone's never been climbing and like hard climbing, if you're doing a hard route, you just kind of lose yourself on the wall and just kind of like zone out into it. Where I feel like when you're doing like, I've not really gotten into mountain biking, but
Mhm.
with skiing, I know when you're going fast down the hill, you just kind of get that like hyper focus almost, and
Oh
you
yeah.
notice everything around you. And even though you're going fast, it's like you notice everything happening.
Yeah, to a degree, I almost feel like it's for all you like long distance runners and marathon runners out there, this feeling. I forget what the term is, but basically, after you've been running for a while, you're miles in, you kind of just get into this zone, and you almost forget about all the past few miles behind you, and it's just like I think they call it the flow. And yeah, that's exactly what I feel a lot of times when I'm skiing big mountain or on a nice bike circuit. It's just you get so zoned in and hyper focused on your settings, and it's just like everything just seems to kind of function very smoothly, and um, I don't know, everything just comes together, and you're like hitting your lines, you're picking a good route, and it just feels so good. You feel the wind, and
It, it's kind of like the bike or the skis are like an extension of your body. And
yeah.
yeah, so I know exactly what the feeling is. It's great. And just being able to have that feeling out in the middle of the wilderness is a special experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like a lot of people, which getting into these sports, I'd say finding someone to go out with is probably the easiest thing to do, and kind of have them show you the ropes and kind of help you through the process more than anything else.
Yeah, I've found that, if there's something that you love, and you're really passionate about it, if you're really into skiing or like, or scuba diving or anything like that, just talking to your friends about it and sharing stories with them and letting them see just the light in your eyes as you talk about these things and just getting super excited about them. I've seen that it tends to make them very excited about it too. So for instance, I've gotten pretty into scuba diving now, and I mentioned it to some of my buddies and talking about trips and things, and I just got 3 of them in a week ago or 2 weeks ago to sign up for their open water certification course. They all were like, "This is cool. I want to do this with you." So they all signed up, dropped the money, and they're getting certified. So yeah, it's just I love breeding that love for outdoor adventure in other people.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, especially with those sports where it's not hard to get into, but it can seem a
Mhm.
little bit daunting because it's like these big outdoor things that have a little bit of a fear aspect to them, and it's a little bit intimidating. So having someone going up to your friends and kind of showing them that it's not that intimidating, and kind of helping them see that there's a pretty easy path to getting into it is very helpful for people.
Absolutely. And the great thing about living in the 21st century is, even if you don't have someone to ask, you've got the internet. There's
Yeah.
forums, there's an infinite number of places to go look up, how to do things, or even just watch instructional videos. But yeah, it's just my biggest advice is really just start getting out there. If you want to do
Yeah.
something, don't make an excuse why you can't do it. Just go out for your first time, and after that the rest just becomes butter. You just keep
Yeah.
going.
So with scuba diving, when did you get into that again exactly?
uh so I'd always wanted to do it for a really long time, and so because one of my dreams as a kid was swimming with dolphins in the ocean, and so that was kind of what started it. And let's see, so I actually the summer after my freshman year of college, I went to Israel on a trip with my family, and before we went, my parents were like, "All right, everyone, just pick one activity that you want to do while we're out here, and we'll do it." And so naturally, I said, "Let's go scuba diving." So they've got the Red Sea right at the southern tip, and it's some of the best diving in the world. It's very clear water, for part of like one of the seasons every year. There's whale sharks that come in. It's just a really cool place. But I went diving there for my first time. It was only 20 feet, so there was nothing super crazy, but just being down there and being in that totally like foreign world and breathing underwater while you're floating around the place just staring at fish, it's just I don't know, there's just something very surreal and special about it to me. Um, so that was kind of my first little taste of it. And then spring break, one of the years of college, I went to Mexico with some buddies, and we all scuba dived there once. Still wasn't certified. And then let's see, about a year and a half ago now. So I was already living up in Detroit after college, and um, I just found a class that was, a price that I was willing to spend, and I signed up for my open waters, and I just on my own, and I went and got certified over the course of a couple weekends. And this past summer, actually, I got my advanced open water certification. So, I decided I want to keep being able to dive deeper and deeper. And I bought a bunch of gear now too. I've got my own setup. Some of it is hand-me-down equipment, saved me a lot of money. But yeah, now I've got everything I need, and I'm just kind of getting more and more excited to go out and dive. I just started planning a trip out to Costa Rica with one of my buddies to dive with the sharks before the season is
That's
up.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how much are the courses for that usually? And I know that they're kind of all around, like in a bunch of cities, as long as you have
Yeah.
like a body of water near you. Is
Yeah.
there any like facilities that are in like cities that are a little bit more landlocked or, uh,
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
gotcha.
So a lot of places do have them. Pretty much all you need, for instance, for open water diving is you need a pool somewhere. Generally, you do a couple dives in your closed water at the pool, where they teach you your basic skills, you practice your buoyancy, things like that, and then you'll go out and like most places have a quarry that was dug at some point, unfortunately. However, the benefit of that is they fill it in with water and turn it into a cool dive site where they'll sink old boats or like cannons or put little totems at the bottom, just
Gotcha.
cool things to look at. And you know all you really need is that, and you just sign up for your course. It's really easy to see if there's a scuba shop around. But I would say most cities that have any sort of body of water around will probably have at least one scuba shop. And if not, you can always do half your course and then go on a vacation somewhere and finish it up somewhere else. You just get a little like um, you get your logbook for diving signed and stamped, and it says you're halfway done with the course, and you take it out there, um, and you just finish it on your vacation to the Caymans or the Keys or really wherever you're going.
Gotcha. Cool. And then I know that you said that you just got your backcountry set up not too long ago with
Yeah,
skiing. So how long ago did you? Because I know that you're pretty deep into skiing and you make a bunch
yeah,
of trips out west every year. So we can kind of
yeah.
start diving into that since I feel like that's one of your uh, more extensive sports.
Yeah, I would say skiing. I always had a love for skiing. So my
Yeah,
dad, if there's one sport he ever really did, it was skiing. So he actually went to Ohio State as well, and he was on ski team. He skied with them every year. So I grew up with some stories from the team, and it was always so cool. So he'd take me out maybe once or twice each winter when I was younger. But there was a really long stint that I didn't ski. I think the first time after like 4 or 5 years was that trip out to Moab, and then we skied at Copper Mountain in Colorado after that. Um, and then afterwards, my best friends growing up actually went to Colorado State. So I always had a place to go fly out and, stay in college. So later on, eventually I bought my first set of skis, nothing super crazy, just a pair of Strider Rossignol's, and just kind of the basic setup that I needed. Yeah, and uh, I'd go out there, stay with them. We'd probably go drive out to Silverthorne, which is a little town like a half hour away from a bunch of the major resorts outside of Denver. And we would just stay there at a cheap hotel, cram in for the weekend for like $50, and then start skiing. And I just got obsessed with Big Mountain. It's just so much fun. I started getting into jumps a little bit, a lot of tree skiing. And since then, it's just now, luckily, a lot of my friends in Detroit also really like skiing and boarding. So now we've kind of grown into like 20-man trips where we've got
awesome.
3 condos booked. And like last year, we had, I think, 26 people all go to Jackson Hole in Wyoming for like 4 days. And we had a couple condos next to each other in the village. And just some of the coolest skiing I've done. And, I decided resorts are great. You get on a lift, it takes you up. You don't really have to put in too much effort other than skiing down, which I guess can be a lot of effort. But I've always been a big fan of just getting away from the people, getting away from the roads and cars and things that remind me of society, and just getting out where it's just me in the wilderness. And so I decided this past winter, I got a good opportunity. One of my friends, she was worked for one of the outdoor programs out in for a college outside of Salt Lake called Weber State, and every year they run a couple avalanche safety courses, or the Area 1. Yeah, and so she was able to get me a really good discount on it and all the gear that I needed. So I went out for really cheap. It cost me, I think, like $300. And I did the Area 1 course, got a little bit of backcountry skiing in, and I was like, all right, this is pretty great. I'm gonna start buying some gear and getting into it. And unfortunately, with backcountry skiing, it's harder to buy piece by piece. You kind of have to get everything at once, just because you need your beacon, your probe, your shovel, all the safety equipment. But I bought everything, and then I reached out to one of my old college buddies who lives out in San Francisco now, and he has he buys into a cabin in the winter that's out in Tahoe by Squaw Valley. So I hit him up, and I just bought all my equipment, and I flew out there for a few days, and we went up to the cabin and got some backcountry up in the mountains. And that trip was fun, but really brutal. My boots were a little bit too new to be doing as much as I did out there. And I had blisters for like a month, I think.
Not fully broken in yet?
Not broken in at all. Yeah, I should have known better.
I need to get a new pair of boots going into this winter. So I'm definitely going to be looking into, because that's one of the things that you can get not in like full bulk is the boots for it. And then I need to get I either need to get new skis and get bindings for backcountry, or I need to replace the bindings on my skis right back there with backcountry bindings, which I'll probably end up going the new ski and just have a backcountry ski set up and those are all mountain skis. So they're great for the resorts and all of that. They can handle anything inbounds. So thinking of just keeping those for that, and then getting a better backcountry big mountain type setup going here soon.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, my new skis, I got wider ones, so they were better for powder. That was a big thing, and lighter too. My Rossies are they're like decent for a lot of things, but they are definitely heavy. So I decided not to. I also broke one of the skis last winter too, so it wouldn't have been an option anyways. But yeah, so I kind of built up a new set, and I've been pretty happy with it. I'm excited. You'll have to let me know, how that goes and what you end up buying.
I still need to look into it. Like I said, this first winter, I think I'm just gonna pretty much stay inbound. And the only stuff that I've really done some of the side country, which
Mhm.
um, it's where is it? Aspen Highlands has the Aspen Highlands Bowl, which
Yeah,
is you can hike to the top of that, and that was kind of like my first little bit of like taste of having to hoof your way up and do the work to get the turns.
was it
And it's
brutal? Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't help you. You take a short little snowcat ride that only takes you like a fifth of the way, and then the rest is just straight up the ridge line, and you're just behind other people, just going in the boot marks, just. And then there's a few people
Yeah.
that'll be skinning up and they'll skin past you. So skins are definitely, and I know that's one of the more expensive things in the setup, right? The
Skins themselves aren't that expensive. I would honestly say like your skis and bindings
well,
are
yeah,
gonna be and then the
but
beacon because beacons are pricey, but
yeah, I just of outside of the skis and bindings, which is obviously going to be your
yeah.
biggest investment in skis because
Mhm.
ski equipment's not cheap.
Yeah,
Boots
it's
too. I
your
mean, boots are like, I mean, a good pair of boots is around like decent amount too. So
yeah. Yeah, no, I know that feeling that you had. I did that last winter at when we were in Jackson Hole. We actually went up a couple times, almost to my dismay. It was brutal. We had especially because the one time we took a route that was pretty much straight up the mountain. So we're like, I'm taking my skis in, I'm at altitude, I'm like huffing and puffing, and it was just a brutal long ascent up to the top of the mountain to get some of the to go down some of the spines and get some cool skiing at the
yeah,
top. That because there was still fresh powder up there, so we really wanted to go hit it. But yeah, it's just boot
but
tracking up is just rough.
yeah, but it the turns are when you finally get up there, that run is just even so
Oh,
much
so worth
more.
it.
It's so much more. I feel like it's even more so since you had to work for it. Um, that it just is that much more enjoyable almost.
Oh yeah, the if for honestly for anything, the your the reward is if you know the harder you work for something, the greater the reward feels. It's
Yeah.
just awesome experience. Yeah.
So what was I gonna say? I guess going forward, what are your kind of focuses main? Because you've kind of gotten into a little bit of everything, but what would you say
Yeah.
are like your main focuses going forward with outdoor activities and sports and
Mhm. Yeah, so I would say, and keep in mind part of this is because of the geography being up in
yeah,
Detroit now. So I kind of have to decide. But I would say so. My winter sport, as you can probably tell, is skiing. Doing that a lot. That's I don't really plan to be doing much else in the winter except maybe some climbing training at the gym. I started getting back into that again as well, but uh, I would really say my main focuses now are probably climbing, skiing, and scuba diving. Um, I've still got a little bit of everything else, but those are my main sports at the moment.
gotcha.
Yeah.
And then in the future, I guess what would be some big what's like a future endeavor, like future trip, like dream trip that you have in mind that is like a bucket list trip?
Ooh. Well, my bucket list is actually really long, so definitely not going to run through all of it
No,
with you. Um, but uh,
there
back
has to be
when
some at the top of the bucket list.
Oh, 100, yeah, no, no, no. So that 5 week stint that I did in Europe, and when
Yeah,
I was in Switzerland for a little bit, went to Chamonix, and which is just over the border into France, and like the Alps are just so awesome, so cool, great views, and it's really kind of become a dream of mine now to get out there one winter and get to just maybe spend a month if I can. It probably won't be that long, but I would love to just stay out there for a little bit and just do some skiing. The mountains there are just so different, and skiing in Chamonix by the glaciers and in the Alps by like Geneva. It's just that's a huge dream of mine, is to be able to just get out and get some nice turns in on those huge mountains.
Yeah. No, they're definitely on my list to get out to the Alps. It would be
Yeah.
amazing to be able to ski there, and I know there's a couple really cool like connection ski like backcountry routes. Ski
Hmm.
what's the name of that ski discipline? Ski trekking or something, I think it's
Oh,
called.
cross country skiing.
It's not exactly cross country because you're kind of going. It is cross country at times, but it's like called ski trekking or something. You
Hmm.
can go
I don't
between
know.
two towns in like the Alps, and you start in one town, and you go up and over the mountain, and kind of go to the next town over.
Oh,
So it's
I
like
could,
a
yeah. I don't know what
so
it's called, but
and there's like what's it called, like little like not exactly huts but like log cabins and stuff that like along the way are like your stops, so it's like a multi-day thing, and I think that would be awesome to be able to get to the point where I'd be able to do that out there in the Alps.
yeah,
Just
oh,
spend a
for
couple
sure.
days going through and doing one of those between two cities essentially.
Yeah, you should. I mean, do it, man. Like we said, there's no reason not to.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I stayed, that was the one place during that trip where I did stay in Airbnb for a couple of days, and there was our host. Because we were talking to her, my buddy I was with at the time, he's also a big skier. He's one of the Colorado guys I mentioned. So we asked our host, like, where's the nearest skiing here? And she said, oh, it just ended a couple weeks ago. The closest lift is literally a 5-minute walk up the hill. So you like you take all your gear, you walk out of the house, walk up, catch a lift up, and that's just something that I just don't think you get it anywhere else in the world.
It's yeah, it's like that small town mount, which is how Colorado used to be, but all those small ski towns are now large ski towns, and
Yeah.
everything's become commercialized, and it's not like you said, like a small little place 5 minutes from a lift in
Mhm.
like a small little ski town in the Alps. That's just it's a little slice of heaven over there. I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like the Alps are just a whole nother, like you said. I don't know if it's the starkness or what it is about them that's different than because I wasn't there in the winter, but you know, I was there during the summer, and it was just gorgeous, and it's definitely, and that was before I was really into uh, I'd ever skied on mountains before. So after skiing in the mountains out here, it's like that's the next step, or getting up to Alaska and doing heli skiing would be another huge thing.
Yeah. I would love, yeah, I've always wanted to try out heli skiing. I have a few friends who found it pretty cheap through somewhere this winter if they bought a pass to that specific resort.
I
And
think
so
I
they're
know the
like, let's just
one.
do it.
Yeah, it's the Silver Mountain, or no,
I think so, something like that.
something like that. It's one of the. It's that new like backcountry Bluebird, right? I think it might
Yeah, it
be.
should be. It's the Colorado guy, so I think
And
it is out
then
there, yeah.
I think it's run through a company that does heli skiing up in Alaska and like heli skiing in Colorado, and it's a heli skiing company that focuses on backcountry. So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, I saw that. I think it's like if you bought their pass, it's like I think the first trip's like $100 or something, and then
Yeah, it's like 90
it's
or 100, yeah.
yeah, it was something like that. Like whatever their deal is, it's actually, I mean, it's a pretty damn good deal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I wish I told them the other day. I was like, I was kind of mad at them actually. I told them like, why did you not tell me about this? I absolutely would have bought it for this winter. That'd just be such a cool experience. But
oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it for the questions and leading on to everything. So if you have anything else that you kind of want to say, anything else that you want to talk about, then finish it up. Then that's
No, I
about
mean,
it.
yeah, I have I've got endless stories at this point of my outdoor adventures. But I guess yeah, one thing I would say is for everyone listening is just if there's something you've always wanted to try, but for whatever reason you haven't, or you feel like it's too much logistical planning to get out there and do it, or you just have no one who wants to do it with you. Just go do it. I know that sometimes it's easier said than done, but getting out and doing something by yourself. But if you really want to do it, go do it. Then come back with the stories, tell your friends, and before you know it, they're all going to be heading out with you to do that skiing or climbing those desert towers. That's just how you build your network. I've got people around
Yeah.
the country. I know Mitch does too, and yeah, let's just get out there.
Yeah. And then I guess one last thing I guess I would ask you is, of all your trips so far, what's been like your favorite destination that you've been for any of these outdoor? I know in college you said the one down to the Everglades,
Everybody,
but outside of that, your trips like for skiing and all those things, do you have one that stands out in like a location that you would suggest that people get to just because of how amazing it was?
um, just an all around amazing. Yeah, honestly, I guess this is another one of those really loaded questions,
It
but
is.
just in terms of like environment and where I was, and not specifically because of the sports and how fun it was for skiing or whatever. Honestly, Utah in general. I've always been as much as I love the snow, I've always loved the desert and just how peaceful and quiet it is. So plus there's just so many national parks out there. So just get out on a trip for a week and hit up Arches and Canyonlands and Zion, and there's just so many beautiful scenic places that you really, there's just nothing like them anywhere else in the world really. So I would say that's just a really special place for me. I definitely plan on going back quite a few more times throughout my life. And yeah, I would say there's a little bit of something for everyone out there too. So that's another big plus. Um, yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of different things that you can do out there, not just one thing. It's a mix of. I mean, again,
Yeah.
the mountains are our adult playground. So,
100%. Yeah.
but yeah, awesome. Well, I was happy to have you on. Thank you for sharing your story. And this is the end of this episode. So, thank you very much for tuning in. I will see you guys next time.